In this tutorial, we will play with recursive subdivision in Cavalry. Recursive subdivision is essentially a technique where you make a copy of a mesh and have it in size and then repeat it again and again, with each copy being half the size smaller than the previous one. So essentially this is very similar to quad tree, where each mesh is half the size of the previous one, and we can go down and down the rabbit hole, as you can see on the screen. And in Cavalry, we can do this in two ways. We can simply use shapes, as you can see here, with apply layout, or we can use rectangle pattern, which is a bit easier to animate. And both of these techniques allow you to create some cool, interesting results. I put together a number of examples, which I will include in a project file, including the result from this tutorial, and you'll be able to download it from Gumroad for a small donation fee. So before we start, I just need to mention that the tools we'll be using are part of the experimental features at this point. So you need a pro version of Cavalry to use them at this moment, but this might change in the future. So let's get started. We need to create a mesh. Any mesh will do. We'll be using the width and height of this mesh, in this case a rectangle. If you're using something like, let's say, icon or as SVG file, you can use bounding box to simply extract width and height of your shape. For example, if I use a star, I can easily extract width and height of this star shape without trying to calculate the radius and correct dimensions and so on. First, I'm going to put this rectangle into a duplicator and call it row. Switch it to linear and change the size mode to step. So I want to offset this duplicator by the size of this mesh. I'm going to leave it at 200 for the time being. And essentially what I want to do is make a copy of this mesh, but make it smaller and repeat this process again and again as many times as we need. So the easiest way to do this is by putting this row duplicator into another duplicator. I'm going to call this second duplicator whole stack because we'll be stacking shapes on top of each other. And I'm going to switch this duplicator to point, leave the copies at 3 for now. And this is where the experimental features comes in. We need to add apply layout to it. Apply layout is an experimental feature at the moment, and hopefully it will be available to regular users soon. This behavior works in exactly the same way as the layout behaviors over here. Essentially, we can stack shapes based on these properties, so we can space them out based on horizontal layout or vertical or even grid. I'm going to switch to vertical, and as you can see, each copy generated from this first duplicator is essentially stacked on top of each other without crossing the boundary of the shape itself. So at the moment we're using level 2, so essentially we're going all the way to the first duplicator, the shape itself. So to explain this better, let me turn on the Mesh Explorer for now. And if I select this, you can see this is the second level. So we're accessing the shapes directly that make this whole image. So if I switch the level to 1, everything gets aligned perfectly next to each other. So we are targeting the individual rows, not the shapes themselves. So next, I want to zero out all these padding values. These padding values are essentially padding added to the size property, and the size property is currently linked automatically to the resolution of this composition, so this value. To make things easier, I'm going to simply zero everything out, and zero out all the padding, so the shapes are not influenced by any padding values except the spacing value, which will basically space out the rows themselves. And to keep things in the middle, I can add an align modifier. So at this point, we have individual rows created with the first duplicator, and we simply duplicate them with second duplicator and stack them on top of each other using apply layout. So this was the easier part of the tutorial. So now let's do some math calculations. I'm going to use the size value in our rectangle and select a math node. This will allow me to simply set the size for both X and Y. I want to keep both values the same, so I can just use one node. I'm going to set the value to about 200, and I want to halve it with every single copy. So at this point, we have rectangles the size of 200. This one should be 100, this one 50, and so on. The way to do this is we simply need to grab index context from the second duplicator, plug it here. Now, do not switch this operation to divide, otherwise Cavalry might crash because you're not supposed to divide anything by 0. So let's change this by adding expression value plus 1, which will simply offset this data, the index context, by 1. So instead of index starting from 0, 1, 2, and so on, it will start from 1, 2, and so on. So in this case, we are multiplying the rectangle size with each copy as we go on and on. So this one's at 200, 400, and this one at 600 in size. I want to reverse that, so I'm going to switch to divide. So as you can see, the baseline shape is at 200 pixels, then 150, and so on and so on. And because this is linked to a math node, the whole thing is responsive, so we can keep adding copies, and they will get smaller and smaller and smaller with each copy. Going to keep this at around 5, so it's easier to manage. So as a next step, we need to increase the number of copies generated per each row. So at this point, we have 3 rectangles here. In the second row, we need to have 6, 9, and so on. So the way we can do this is by adding math node, the count property. And then we need to add index context to the second property over here. Now, index context layer is essentially the same thing as grabbing this property, index context over here, except it's represented as a node. So as you can see on the dependency graph, we have the index context property going all the way down to the rectangle shape over here, and it feeds into this duplicator, which in turn this duplicator feeds back into the main duplicator. Now the index context layer does the same thing as this connection, except you can use the single layer across multiple properties, and we will do that in a second. Now, I didn't use index context here because this property has an upstream depth and offset properties. If I plugged it into the math size to use it in the rectangle shape, then this index context layer would use index context from this duplicator rather than this one. So I would have to offset it by 1 to something like 2. I prefer to simply grab the index context value directly from the duplicator and drop it all the way here. And in case of this duplicator, I can use this one layer across multiple math nodes at once. So it's up to you if you want to use a single layer index context, or if you want to link index context from duplicators to specific layers as you need. Going back to our first duplicator, we have math node on the count property, and we simply multiplying 3 times the index context of the second duplicator, which this duplicator feeds into. And as you might remember, the index starts from 0, so we have to correct that with value plus 1. And now we can see that first row has 3 rectangles, which is this property over here. Next one has 6, 9, and so on and so on. So essentially, we are multiplying this value by index of each row as we generate them. Now let's add another math layer to the size property. I'm going to grab the rectangle size from the first math node, drop it onto this math node. Then I'm going to grab the index context layer and drop it onto the second field. As you can see, things change a little bit. We need to correct it again by using value plus 1 expression. Instead of multiply, I'm going to switch it to divide. To make things a little bit easier to see, I'm going to add a color array to our rectangle temporarily so I can have different colors per row. So as you can see, we are generating 3 rectangles on top, then 6, 9, and so on. Everything is dynamically calculated by index context, and this is driven by this layer and index context on the rectangle size. So we are sizing them as we go along, and we're making more and more copies. Now, good thing about the apply layout, we can easily flip the order if you need to, and change the spacing like this. And the whole thing is responsive, and you can easily change the number of copies you have in your first row and increase the number of copies in the second row to basically make the column and the effect go on and on and on. So this is the basis for the effect, and the whole thing will work with any shape. Like this case, I can easily increase the corner radius of our rectangle to make circles out of it. The whole thing is responsive. You can animate it and do what you want with it. Now, as a second example, let's look at rectangle pattern. As mentioned before, this is an experimental feature for the time being. In the future, most likely this will be a regular tool or modifier, so you'll be able to use it without enabling experimental features in your preferences. But a quick overview how it works: we can generate a pattern. In this case, I'm generating line. We can generate a ring. This is super useful for stuff like data viz. But in this case, I want to use line. I'm going to leave the size at 1000, height at 100. We can change the gap. So if I change the gap to none, then the rectangle pattern creates just rectangles next to each other. It's a little bit hard to see what is going on, so I'm going to add a color array so you can actually see how the whole thing is created. Now, to make this easier to manage, I'm going to switch the number of bars to 5. The one thing that might be confusing is that this has no effect unless you use a modifier or like noise or oscillator or like a math node and so on. As you can see, now these guys are moving. So the reason this has no effect if you try to animate it by hand is because the whole rectangle pattern is calculated by taking the size and divided equally by the count number. If you add a modifier like a noise, oscillator, or math nodes, etc., then internally rectangle pattern will take these values and will apply them within the size of it. So that's a one little gotcha that you might not be aware of. So what we want to do is essentially the same thing as before. We have our rectangle pattern, and I'm going to change the height to about 200. I'm going to put this into a duplicator, call it stack, change it to point, make maybe 5 copies, and as before, I'm going to apply a layout, change it again to vertical, zero out on the properties, zero out the spacing, change the level to 1. As we can see, we got 5 copies. And again, I don't need the size to be responsive to the resolution. And as a final step, let's add a line modifier. Perfect. So we have essentially 5 identical copies of our rectangle pattern. So let's mix this up a little bit. I'm going to add math node to the height, started with 200, and I'm going to plug in index context. As before, as you can see, this is getting bigger and bigger with each copy. So we need to change it, and let's add expression value +1 and divide it instead. So as you can see, the rectangle pattern gets smaller and smaller. And I'm going to do the same thing with the count number over here. Again, grab the index context, drop it on the second field. And as you can see, the whole thing updated. But we have 5 copies, but you can only see 4 rows. And again, this is because we are essentially multiplying the first row by 0, which erases the first row. So we have to fix that by adding value +1 expression. And now we have perfect grid, which essentially doubles with each copy and changes the size by half. And I can easily flip this with one click of a button. I'm going to increase number of copies to maybe 10. The cool thing about rectangle pattern is that it's super easy to animate. I can easily add something like a noise behavior to the bar size, change the values from not -10, but to something like minimum of 10 to 100. And everything will animate. And to make it a little bit more interesting, you can add something like a bevel to it. And again, this will work perfectly. If you want to have gaps between each one of these cells, simply switch the gap type to fixed width and maybe change the value to 10. As you can see, everything resizes accordingly. And we can switch this spacing on the apply layout again to 10. And you have a perfect pattern that animates and scales down with each copy. There's lots you can do with it, and I prepared a number of examples which I will include in the project file, so you'll be able to download the whole thing from Gumroad and play with the example we just made, plus any other stuff I put together. Thanks for watching.